Okay, welcome everybody. Today's pose that we are working with is standing split. Standing split. So we are still kind of in, earlier this week was actually Hanuman's birthday. So I know we did Hanumanasana last week. But I wanted to still stay sort of within this theme of the split poses. And so I decided that standing split was a good option. And what I like about this kind of in conjunction with a pose like Hanumanasana or right after it is that if you can take an understanding of one pose and then turn it sideways, is you get the same experience, right? It's still a split pose, but it is completely different because now your orientation to it is different. So the focus, I think, with standing split is completely on the fact that you are in a split pose, but you're standing. Right? So the standing leg, how you interact with that standing leg is hugely significant. If we get very rigid when we're standing on one leg, is our balance actually becomes less good, right? We think that the stronger we are in the leg is the more stable we'll be, but it's actually the opposite. Right? So there's a real importance that we are engaged with the standing leg as well as the lifted leg in standing split. But if we get rigid, then the pose is going to fall apart. Right? It's going to fall over, or it's going to counterbalance or overbalance, and then we totally lose being actually in it. So this is the sort of attitude of the pose, is learning how to stand very solid, but still be flexible, not be rigid, to be very engaged, but not to be so stuck in one place that you're not able to continue to extend or to expand, right? So find your comfortable seat, whatever that looks like. Let the eyes close. Just finding yourself coming to feel the strength of your spine, right? So we don't always consider it that when we're sitting or when we're standing, is that it takes a certain amount of strength in your spine to hold you upright. So as you're sitting, start to feel how you can soften into the back body a little bit more. This is big in standing split because we tend to push everything forward. And again, that rigidness or that contraction of the back makes it less flexible. Right? And we need the back to be flexible in standing split. So start to soften, drop back into your pelvis, even if it means that it feels like you're rocking slightly towards the back of your sit bones. Let that happen for a moment. And then let the ribs soften back so that the front of the rib cage actually hollows into the back body and your back body becomes full. And maybe it feels like that causes your back to round a little bit. That's okay. Let it happen. Good. And then even let the shoulders drop away from the ears. And if they have a natural tendency to curve forward, it's okay. Let that happen for a moment. So everything here is softening into the back body so that you can actually feel this is where my spine is. This is the width of my back. Good. And then from that, start to internally draw the navel in and up. So that's a little lift of the lower back without pushing anything forward. Just draw it in and up. Good. And then feel your sternum, that's the very top of your chest, the breastbone, lifting up, not pushing forward, just lifting up. And then feel the top of your head lifting, as though, again, there's a string that runs straight through it that's just pulling your neck nice and long. And again, there's no pushing forward of the chest or the belly or anywhere. Chin is dropping level to the floor. Keep everything focused on softening back, but internally lifting tall. Good. The strength of your back is incredible in just the simple act of sitting or standing or being. The strength of your back is incredible. So don't forget that. Moving into a pose like standing split, it's your back that ultimately allows the legs to do the extension that it's doing. There is no split without your back. There is no standing without your back. So don't focus on the legs, focus here. And one more deep breath. Strong, but malleable, flexible. And as you exhale, bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om. Take a deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands. Come forward to hands and knees and drop back into child's pose. As you come forward, take your knees nice and wide. Big toes come together to touch. Good. And sending the hips all the way back, arms all the way in front of you. Separate your hands just a little bit wider. So instead of trying to bring them closer together, thinking that that's going to stretch your shoulders, let them go wider and come up on your fingertips. Good. So you're lifting the elbows off the floor, forearms off the floor. Good. And then pressing those fingertips down into the floor, drag backwards just a little bit. So it feels like you're pulling your arms into your shoulder socket. And you can have that feeling again of pulling your sternum forward. So the front of your chest actually lengthens forward. That's it, Susan. Good. And at the same time, you're pulling the tops of your thighs back and almost like you're trying to send your tailbone up and back towards your heels. Good. So it's a lengthening of the lower spine by pressing into the legs and pulling backwards. And it's a lengthening of the middle and upper spine by pressing into the fingertips and pulling long. Good. So the minute we shorten the back in standing split, because we think it's just the legs doing the work, is we're going to lose the actual flexibility in our legs. We're going to lose the ability for the legs to move away from each other into that split position. So your back is so critical in this pose that if you're not paying attention to the length of your spine, is your legs are going to have nothing to work with, right? There's going to be no space for them to get into a split. So we start with the back, deep breath in. Good. And then deep breath out. Keep that tension where you're drawing the tops of the thighs back and you're drawing your armpits back, but you're lifting that sternum forward. Good. Just one more breath to feel like, again, you're dragging on the hands, you're dragging on the hips so that there's the length on your spine. Good. And then walk yourself back up onto hands and knees. And cat-cow your spine. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath your hips. And then again, keep the armpit stable over the wrist. Keep your thigh creases stable on top of your knees. And then as you move your spine, keep those 4 points really connected to where they are. So you're not rocking back and forth. But as you inhale and exhale, you're inhaling, pulling your spine between those 4 corners. So it's like your tail pulls behind your thighs or your thighs move back. Between the arms. Good. But again, the arms and legs are not physically moving in space. The shoulders and hips are not physically moving forward and back. Nice, you guys. So there's almost still that feeling of really dragging your hands and your knees towards each other and moving the spine. Good. Nice, you guys. Come back to stillness, please. Neutral spine, so somewhere between arched and curled. Stretch your right leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor. Good. Then lift that leg up parallel to the floor. Good. And send that inner thigh a little wider to the right. So your right hip drops forward and down. Really square the pelvis towards the floor. So your baby toe rotates down. Good. Nice, you guys. Walk your left fingertips forward. Take your balance. Take the left arm up alongside your ear. Beautiful. And then chest lifts. Again, almost like you're doing that lift of cow, heart forward, inner thigh of the back leg kicks up. Good. And then release back to hands and knees, please. Good. Try the other side. Take the left leg back behind you, toes tucked. Lift that leg up, baby toe still pointing towards the floor. So as soon as that leg lifts, the tendency is that all your weight goes onto that right leg, the supporting leg. Move your left inner thigh wider to the left. Turn the front of your left pelvic bone down towards the floor. Good. So don't let the leg go wider than your hip. So mark your little too wide. There you go. Good. But that little widening of the thigh is going to help redistribute your weight towards that left side of your pelvis. That's what you want. Right low belly lifts a little higher and wider. Good. Walk your right hand forward, take your balance. So basically, as soon as that back leg is lifted, this is already with your back happening, right? What has to happen in standing split. So notice where your ribs are falling forward. Notice where you feel like there's an arch in your back that you can't get out of. And then really try here to squeeze that right knee and your left wrist towards each other and pull your rib cage up and in. Good. Like you're trying to take that arch out of your back. Nice, Lorraine. And then lift your sternum up higher without dropping the ribs and kick your left thigh up higher. Nice. And then release back to hands and knees. Good. Circle the hips just a little bit. Good. So you see what I mean, right? That as soon as, if you want that back leg to lift higher, you're going to start to feel the effort of that in your back. And we either do one of two things, right? We either compensate for that by arching our ribs or arching the back, thinking that's going to get our leg higher. And it does a little bit, but only because it's causing a sort of collapse in the pelvis. Circle your hips the other way. Good. Or we start to round like crazy, trying to kick the leg higher that way. And we end up running into the resistance of how tight our lower back is. Good. So either way, again, it's not the tightness of the back that is really the struggle. It's trying to find the strength of the back. Good. Come back to neutral, please. Nice. Again, take your right leg back behind you, toes tucked. Good. Lift that leg up off the floor in line with your hip. Again, widen the inner thigh slightly. So you're moving your weight a little wider to the right. Left low belly lifts high. Good. So again, you're balancing like you have a block on your sacrum. So you have that right hip spinning down and forward. That's it. Left hand walks forward. Take a balance. Left arm up. Good. Nice, you guys. Again, you're squeezing that right wrist and left shin towards each other. Pull your rib cage up and in. So even though that leg is lifted high, try and find the length of your spine, rib cage in, like you're trying to round your back. That's it. Now bend your right knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Reach back for the foot or the ankle, but keep that feeling of trying to pull your rib cage up and in. Good. So to make this back bend happen here, we don't drop the ribs forward, but we draw up and then lift your sternum higher. And again, you're squeezing that arm back. So again, more of a shoulder opening and less of a rib collapsing. Good. Thigh goes a little higher. You guys kick that foot back into your hand. Nice. And then slowly release, extend all the way back out. Good. And then come back to hands and knees. Nice. Try the second side. Left leg comes back behind you. Good. Lift that leg up in line with your hip, toes facing down to the floor. Good. Practice this concept here of moving back through that extended heel. So take the weight of your hips moving back. Good. And you're pressing through the whole length of that right shin. So your weight's not all on your knee. Good. And then walk the right arm forward towards straight. Take the balance. Again, that left inner thigh is going just a little bit wide so that the leg doesn't fall towards the center line of your body. It's going a little bit wide. Beautiful. Draw your low rib cage in and up. Yep. Good. Joanne. Nice, you guys. And then bend that left knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, reach back for the foot or the ankle. Try to keep the low rib cage drawing in and up. So again, the back bend doesn't happen because you push the ribs forward. You have to lift higher through your chest, sternum up. Good. And even if you're not reaching the foot, keep the hand behind your head. Just work the thigh. So kick the thigh up. Nice. You got it, Lorraine. Awesome, you guys. Kick the foot into the hand if you have it. Good. And then slowly release, extend all the way back out. Nice. And then come back to hands and knees. Good. Cat cow your spine. Beautiful, you guys. You want there to be this sense of strength and flexibility in the spine because that's what's going to translate into there being the ability for the muscles that connect the spine and the legs to work together. Because if you think you're just going to kick your leg up into standing split and hold it there with just your legs, that's not realistic. It's not how your body works, right? So again, because you're working against gravity in this particular split position, is that you have to have the strength of your back in order to keep that leg lifted against in that parallel position to the floor. Good. Come on back to neutral, please. Nice. Come on down onto your elbows, please. So still on the knees, but bring yourself down to your forearms. You can interlace the fingers here if you'd like, or keep the palms flat, whatever feels most accessible for your shoulders. And then stretch your right leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor. Good. So again, you're pushing into your forearms here. Keep your chest lifted. Don't collapse through the upper body. Nice. Squeeze those upper arms towards each other. Keep the shoulder blades moving towards the center of the back. And then keep that right foot nice and flexed and lift that leg up as high as it will go. So kick it up towards the ceiling. Nice. And then bring it back down to the floor. Touch the toes down. Watch that your ribs don't collapse. Good. And then kick it back up. Yep. All the way up as high as it'll go. Don't let your low belly drop either. And then bring it back down to the floor. So keep your spine as long as you can. Lift it back up. Good. Bring it back down. Try not to let the hip roll open. So your toes point down the whole time. Lift it up. Good. Pelvis stays level with the floor. So Mark, don't let those toes turn open. Turn the baby toe down. That's it. Bring it back down to the floor. Good. Lift it up. Yep. I know. Keep those toes pointing down. Pelvis level. Reach the foot back to the floor. You're almost done. Lift the leg back up on this side. Good. Keep pushing into your forearms. Bring it back down. 2 more. Good. Lift the leg up. Don't let your belly collapse. Keep your hips moving back on top of that knee. Release the foot down. Last one. Kick the leg up. Good. And then release it back down. Nice job. Take the knees wide. Big toes come together to touch. Child's pose. Stretch the arms out. Nice job, you guys. Breathe deep into your low back. Good. And then bring yourself back up to hands and knees. You got to balance, do the other side. So bring yourself back down to your forearms. Okay. Again, distributing your weight. So you have to press into the forearms, keep the chest lifted. Good. Make sure your weight is on your shins, not just on your knees. Take your left leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor. Good. And again, you're keeping your hips level, parallel to the floor the whole time. Kick that heel up towards the sky. So again, lifting it as high as it'll go. Good. And then bring it back down to the floor. Don't let your weight fall all the way forward onto your arms. Kick that leg back up and keep pulling back on the hips as that leg lifts up. That's it. And then bring it back down to the floor. Good. And then lift it back up. You're really working standing split right here. You know, there's nothing more to it except that you're going to be standing on that leg instead of kneeling. Bring it back down. Good. Kick it back up. So keep pressing into your forearms. Again, the upper back has to be just as active as the lower. Bring it back down. Good. Kick it back up. Nice, you guys. Keep pulling back through the heel. Bring it back down. Kick it back up. Nice. Bring it back down. 2 more. Kick it up. Good. Really good, you guys. Pull back through that hip. Bring it back down. And then 1 more time, kick that heel up. Yeah, don't drop your ribs. Keep pushing through the forearms. Keep lifting through the low belly. Nice. And then release that leg back down to the floor. Knees wide. Drop the hips back to your heels. Child's pose. Good. Yeah, the glutes are and hamstrings are actually muscles that have to do a lot of work in standing split. Not only the leg that is holding you, that's your standing leg, but the leg that is lifted. So those muscles have to be really awake and we have to kind of know what it feels like to use them. And so it's really helpful to do those kind of isolating exercises that teach the body like, oh yeah, this is what it's like to lift my leg away from gravity, against gravity. And this is what my back has to get used to in order to keep that leg up. Good. Walk yourself to the right, please, over your right thigh in your child's pose. Good. And then come back towards center, please, and walk to your left. Good. Then come back towards center. Nice. Walk your hands back in, please. Come back to downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Good. And then step your right foot forward between the hands, lunge. Inhale the arms to the sky, high lunge. Good. Bend your back knee a lot so that both arms are up. Bend your back knee a lot and pull that thigh forward. Let yourself lower towards the floor. Good. Bend the back knee a whole lot. Yep. And drop a little lower. That's it. And then straighten the back thigh again. Come back up. Yep. Scoop the belly, bend the back knee again, pulling it forward, lifting your hip points up. That's it. Straighten the back thigh again. Good. Back to that high lunge. 1 more time. Bend the back knee, drop a little lower, pull that thigh forward, squeeze the feet, lift your hip points. Good. And then straighten the back thigh again, please. Awesome. And release the hands back down to the floor. Good. Step your left foot in just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana. Use blocks underneath the hands if you need. Good. Nice, you guys. And then straight just a little bit. So you're turning your toes out. Good. So the idea is to get a little bit more into the outer hips and thighs. So don't let that right hip collapse. Keep the hip points lifted in line with each other. But that left hip is going to spin forward a little bit more. Good. As you're walking to the right, again, your toes will turn with you. So there's no rotating through the knees. Good. And you go as far as your hips and your outer thighs tell you that you should go, right? So there's no decision here that you have to go to a certain amount. But as you walk to the right, keep your feet walking with you. Good. One more breath, really reaching through the outer edges of the legs. Good. And then walk yourself back to center, square the hips again, bring the feet back to face forward. Nice. And then hands maybe up on blocks, round into your back a little bit more, pull up through your low belly. Good. So you bring your weight a little bit more into the back heel when you do that. And then come up on your front heel, lift the toes up off of the floor. Good. Drag down on that heel and pull back. And then again, scoop the belly even more and lift that thigh bone up into the hip socket. Good. And then keep this fullness in your low back. So you still have this engagement of your belly, but start to bring your chest forward towards your toes. So lengthen your spine. Good. That might even feel like you're not coming towards your toes, that you're actually lifting your chest away from your thigh. That's fine. But find the length. Again, pull your armpits away from your hips. Beautiful. And then release that front foot flat to the floor again. Nice job. And then step yourself back downward facing dog. Good. Move forward to plank pose, upward push up. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Good. Forehead to the floor, stretch your arms reaching back towards your feet, palms facing down. Good. And then pressing through the front of your pelvis, float your legs up off the floor in locust pose. Good. So again, keeping your inner thighs being the energy of what's lifting, toes pointing down towards the floor. Lift up head, neck, and chest. So upper body rises up as well. And again, feel as though you are pulling your armpits forward away from your hips and your hips back away from your armpits. Good. One more breath. Lift the back of your heart higher. Squeeze your shins towards each other. Nice. And then slowly release, please. Plant the hands. Good. Come back to downward facing dog. Nice, you guys. Left foot steps forward between the hands, lunge. Inhale the arms up to the sky, high lunge, back heel stays off the floor if you can. And then bend the back knee a lot, bring that thigh forward, lift your hip points and lower down towards the floor. So again, those big muscles of the legs have to be really available for being a one-legged standing pose. Straighten the back thigh again, high lunge, lift through your chest. Good. And then bend the back knee again, pull that thigh forward, lift your hip points up. So that should feel like the weight of your ribs is actually moving back when you do that. Good. And then straighten that back thigh again, high lunge. Last time, bend the back knee, pull that knee forward, thigh forward, lift your hip points up, ribs move back. Good. Nice. Really good, Susan. Straighten that back thigh, please. Good. And then release the hands down to the floor. Step your right foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana. Blocks underneath the hands if you need. Nice. Good. And then again, you're leveling the pelvis to the floor because this is the orientation again that your pelvis needs to be in standing split. So you're working this feeling of when I am bowing forwards, which you are in standing split, is how difficult is it for me to get my right and left hip points to be in the same line. Good. Start to walk yourself to the left any amount. And as you walk to the left towards the baby toe of that front foot, you can turn the feet, both feet, just a little bit more so that you, again, exaggerate some of that stretch on the outer hips and thighs. Good. So there's a very big difference between having muscles that are flexible when you're trying to do something that is very stretchy and having muscles that are flexible or available in order to do their job, right? To be able to synergize and act in the way that they're intended to. So what happens when our hips and our thighs get very tight is that it becomes difficult for those muscles to act as they are meant to. So then when we do stand on one leg, it feels like it's so difficult to do, not because we're not strong enough, but because the muscles just aren't available. They're too tight. Walk yourself back forward, please. Toes facing straight ahead, hips facing straight ahead. Good. And then scoop into your low belly. So you're rounding into your back a little bit more. Take more of your weight towards that back heel and then come up onto the heel of the front foot. So lift the toes of the front foot, flex a lot, and then dig that heel down and pull back like you're pulling that thigh bone all the way up into the hip socket. And your left low belly is going to pull wider to the left just a little bit. That's it. Nice, you guys. Good. And then you still have this roundness in your low belly, but start to stretch your spine forward even as you hold that roundness in your belly, the engagement in your abdominals. So lift your chest up a little higher, pull those armpits back, or I should say, pull your arm bones in. Armpits are actually coming forward, but pull the arm bones in so your chest has a place to go. Good. Get wide, wide, wide. Really good. And then slowly release. Let that foot come to flat again. Beautiful. Bend the knee, step back, downward facing dog. So when we talk about a pose where you have a standing leg, whether it's standing split or any other one-legged standing pose, is the availability of those big muscles is really important. Come forward to plank pose, upward push-up. So we don't want to mistake strength with rigidness, right? Lower down slow to your belly, coming through knees first if you need. Good. Rise up into cobra pose, pointing the toes, lift up head, neck, and chest. Good. And then lower down again, forehead to the floor. Widen your hands this time. Take your hands maybe off of your mat, still in that cobra position, just wide hands. Up on your fingertips again, elbows point up towards the ceiling, lift head, neck, and chest. Keep your elbows rotating up, and then really focus on, can you lift your chest higher than your elbows? Can you lift your sternum higher than the point where your elbows are? Yep. So you're really rotating your shoulder blades down and in, long throat. Really good. Press into your feet. Nice. And then slowly release all the way back to your belly. Good. Plant the hands, press back, downward facing dog. Good. And so we also don't want to confuse a pose with where we think we're getting stuck because of flexibility, and it's actually because of what's going on in our back. Right leg comes up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Keep those toes pointing straight down towards the floor. So again, you got to level your hip points here. Good. Nice, you guys. And then come up on your fingertips in your down dog, still in your down dog split. So up on your fingertips. Yep. So suddenly it's super important what your back is doing, right? So this is standing split. Even though your hands are on the ground, you don't want all of your weight to be falling into them. Good. Deep breath in. Pull back through the pelvis. Beautiful. Let the hands come back to flat. Step that right foot forward between the hands. Lunge. Good. Drop the back knee down to the floor. Use a blanket underneath that knee if you'd like. Move your left hip back so it's in line with your left knee, and take your right leg forward to straight. Urdhva Hanumanasana. Wouldn't that be silly if we did Hanuman as a preparation for standing split? So come up on the heel. So same sort of thing that you just did. So Joanne, just move your hips back a little bit more so that you have kind of a straight line with that supporting leg. You got it. Perfect. And then walk your hands forward towards that right ankle. Yep. Nice, you guys. And then for a moment, bring both hands to the inside of the front foot. So both hands inside that front leg. Good. Turn your toes in and take your right butt cheek wide. Yep. It's like you're pulling your thighs away from each other. So this is again to get into those outer hip and thigh muscles that when they're very tight, make it very difficult for us to balance on one leg. So you're turning everything in, and then you're pushing your left inner thigh wide. So your whole pelvis is not turning with you. Yeah. So it's just the right leg turning in. The left leg is pulling wide. That's it. Good, you guys. Then scoop your low belly a lot. And then start to pull your right thigh and hip back in space. And that's going to help bring the toes of that right foot back up to face the ceiling. Good. So you unwind that rotation, push the inner thighs wide. Awesome. And then walk your hands back to straight ahead so your hands frame the front foot. Beautiful. Drag that heel back so you can bring that right foot back to flat. Bring your right knee forward over the ankle, come into Anjaneyasana. Back knee is still on the floor. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Good. And then bring your right hand to the outside of your right knee. Yep. And push that knee wide into your hand. From the inner thigh, push wide. So your hand is just pressing on the outside of your knee. So you have something to push against. Good. That works too, Mark. Push that knee wide. Good. Left arm comes back up to the sky. Yeah. One more breath, you guys. Press that inner thigh of the front leg, inner knee of the front leg wide. Beautiful. And then release both hands back down to the floor. Awesome. Lift the back knee up. Come back to down dog split. So slide that right leg all the way up and back behind you. Good. Watching how much you rely on dumping into your hands or dumping into your foot and how much there's this feeling of lifting through the low place of your belly. So pull into your low belly here, round into your low back. Good. And then kick that right thigh higher because now suddenly you can. Awesome. Now keep that. Lift your chest up. Look towards, bring the sternum up towards your thumbs. Good. Nice, you guys. And then release that right foot down to the floor, downward facing dog. Good job. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Good. Stretch the arms, reaching back towards the feet again, palms facing down. Locust pose, lift the legs up, lift the chest up, pulling as long as you can from armpit to hips. Your armpits pull forward, your hips pull back. So it's a long, long spine. And then the back of your heart goes straight to the sky. Your inner thighs go straight to the sky. Good. One more breath. Pull the ribs in and up. Nice. And then slowly release, hands to the floor, press back, downward facing dog. Good. Even that action of coming back to downward facing dog, right? Everything, I'm kind of choosing a lot of transitions even to get the back to continue to be strong, because that length of the spine, the connection of how to use your abdominals with your spine is what makes standing split something that we can hold or that becomes less effort. Left leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Come up on the fingertips of both hands in your down dog split. So you're pulling back through that left heel, but you're keeping your hip points level with the floor. Good. Continue to feel like you are pulling your arms up into the shoulder socket, lengthening the spine. Nice, nice, nice. Beautiful, you guys. And let the heels, not the heels, sorry, the palms of the hands come flat and step the left foot between the hands, lunge. Good. Drop the back knee to the floor. Use a blanket there if you need it. Good. And then move your right hip back so it's in line with your right knee. So you're coming into Urdhva Hanumanasana. Left leg comes straight in front of you, up on the heel. Use blocks underneath the hands if you need. Good. Walking yourself forward. Again, what makes this pose really helpful here is not focusing on if the hamstring can stretch, but focusing on the tilt of your pelvis. So you could even keep the knee bent a little bit and really just work at bringing your inner thighs and your sit bones back and wide. Good. And then both hands come inside the front foot. Turn your left toes inward, left butt cheek goes wide. Yep, and as your butt cheek goes wide, don't let your right hip rotate with it. Keep your right hip trying to face straight ahead and push your right inner thigh wide. Good, that's it. So the more you turn that left leg in against the resistance of the right leg staying stable, as you now have this opening of the hip that's happening. Good, scoop your low belly a lot. And then start to squeeze that left hip back and in, pulling your inner thighs back and wide. Let your toes come back up to face the ceiling and really press back through your seat and soften into your upper back so your chest gets wider. Nice, there it goes. Good, Susan, good, Mark. Awesome, you guys. Walk your hands back in, please. Drag that left heel back and in so that you can bring the foot to flat. Bring your left knee forward over the ankle so you're coming into Anjaneyasana. Inhale, both arms to the sky. Good. And then left hand comes to the outside of your left knee, so outside of the front knee. Push wide. So your hand is like an imaginary wall, right? You're pushing in and you're sending your inner knee and your inner thigh wide into that hand. Good. Right arm up to the sky. Good. So to the outside of the knee, Susan. You're a little far forward on the joint. So completely outside thigh. There you go. And push wide. Good. You guys, chest up. Let your hips move forward, but push that inner thigh, inner knee wide. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then release both hands back down to the floor. Good. Lift the back knee up. And then send your left leg up and back, down dog split. Good. Hips facing the floor. Baby toe of that lifted leg points down to the floor. Beautiful. And then again, up on your fingertips, curl into your low belly. Kick that thigh higher. Good. And then keep that feeling of round in your belly, but lift your chest up, up, up towards your fingertips. Good. Even looking forward. Beautiful. Press back through the hips, out through that heel. Nice. And then release the hands, release the foot to the floor, please. Good job. Walk your feet forward towards your hands. Good. You can jump if you're feeling super sassy. You're already there. Good. And then separate your feet nice and wide. Bend your knees, come down, squat. Turn the toes out. Good. Nice, you guys. Hands to heart center, pressing the elbows wide into the inner knees and then hugging the inner knees in towards the elbows. And the outer hips are so important when we are talking about your ability to stay in that neutral pelvis or a square pelvis as you come into standing split. If those hip muscles are tight, they will pull you into something that is sideways, right? No choice. Good. So one more breath, chest lifted, long spine even here. Awesome. And then release the hands to the floor, please. Drop down to your seat gracefully. Good. Stretch the right leg forward in front of you. Nice, Mark. Very graceful. Right leg extends forward. Left foot comes to the inside of the right thigh. Let your knee go wide. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Little twist to your right and then bow over the right thigh. Janu Shirshasana. Good. Again, paying attention that as you bow over that leg, right, if there's a tendency for the foot to fall in or out, try and keep it facing straight up and down. Good. So we simulate all the time what it might be like for this leg, you know, the extended leg to be the standing leg, but without actual weight on it, right? It feels completely different. So your orientation to a pose is huge. Right? Some poses, we like the same action when we're lying on our back, or we like it when we're standing upright, but we don't love it when suddenly we have to do it against gravity. And standing split is like that. You might feel perfectly okay in a split position in other states, but it's hard work when one leg has to hold you and the other one has to work against gravity. Good. Walk yourself back up, please. Nice. Take your left hand back behind your left hip, please. Yep. And then you're coming up onto your left shin. You're lifting your hips up off the floor. Yep. Right arm comes up and over the ear back behind you. So it's a little extended leg back bend. Good. So just press into that left shin mark. Lift your butt up off the floor. There you go. Exactly. Yep. Chest open, chest open, chest open. Nice, you guys. You're stretching through the front of the thigh, through the pelvis. Awesome. And then slowly release. Come all the way back down to seated. Nice job. Take a little twist to your right. So the right hand comes back behind you. Left hand comes to your outer right thigh. Drop that right sit bone down to the floor. Good. Long spine. Press up through the top of your head. Nice. And then go ahead and in that twist, just slide your left hand towards your left ankle. So bring it into a little twisted forward fold. Good. So just slide that hand towards your ankle any amount. That right hand can come to your lower back if keeping it extended behind you feels awkward. Or you can, nope, don't switch the hands though, Mark. There you go. So the hand can either just rest on the lower back if it no longer can comfortably reach the floor, but you still want that right shoulder opening wide. Still twisting. You got it. And then slowly release, please. Come all the way back up. Good. And then switch sides, please. So stretch your left leg out in front of you. Bend the right knee, bring the bottom of the foot to the inside of your left thigh. Let the knee go wide. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Little twist to your left and bow forward. Good. Again, watching that the toes of that extended leg are not rolling in or out. Good. Paying attention to if your upper body is level as it comes over that thigh, or is there a little bit of a twist that's happening? Good. So you're lifting left low belly a little wider, right rib cage spins forward a little more. Good. I almost want to say in many ways, standing split is actually more difficult to accomplish the split position in. Again, because it requires a strength to your legs and your back that we don't use in pretty much any other context. So Hanumanasana might be difficult because it requires a lot of hamstring extension, and it's still a very open back is necessary. but at least you are moving towards gravity. It's helping you. Difficult to get the legs that split, that wide when you're dealing with standing as well as lifting away from the floor. So the more rigid you get in your thinking, in your acting, the harder the pose actually becomes. If you think about how difficult it is, the harder the pose actually becomes. Walk yourself back up. Good. Take your right hand back behind your right hip. And you're coming into that little back bend variation. So press into your right shin, lift your hips up off the floor. Left foot's going to stay flat on the floor, and bring the arm, left arm up and over your ear. You got it. Yep. So by pushing into the legs here, again, you're lifting your hips as high as they'll go, and you're leaning back as though you're going to come into a back bend. So open the chest more, open the armpit more, open that left hip more. That's it. Good, Susan. Nice, Joanne. Nice, Lorraine. Good. And then slowly release all the way back to your seat. Come straight into a twist. So bring that left hand back behind you. Right hand reaches for your outer left thigh. Good. And shoulders are over the hips. Nice. And then staying in the twist, just slide that right hand towards the outer ankle of that left leg. So just slide it forward. So you're in a little twisted forward fold. Good. And again, if you need to bring that left hand, the back hand in a little bit, either closer to your sit bones or just straight to your lower back, totally fine. Just don't lose the twist. Keep your left shoulder open and keep reaching that right rib cage, right armpit forward. Good. Nice, you guys. And then bring yourself all the way back up to center, please. Good. Release the legs, cross the ankles, roll forward to hands and knees, and press back to downward facing dog. Good. Right foot steps forward between the hands, lunge. Inhale the arms to the sky, high lunge. Good. And then lean forward, torso parallels the floor. So pause for a moment in your high lunge, but bring the torso parallel to the floor and feel that back thigh already has to begin to lift. Notice what your front knee is doing. Press the inner knee and the inner thigh wide, just like you had that imaginary hand there. Good. Now step up to warrior three, please. So as you bring your chest forward, yeah, and you come into that standing position, you've got to lift through that thigh, lift your butt towards the ceiling. Good. And then in your warrior three, bend that standing knee a little bit. You can even bend the knee in the air if that helps you with balance, but bend that knee and feel your inner thigh going wide and your left inner thigh, the one in the air, going wide in the opposite direction. Scoop your belly, straighten that standing leg, lift your chest, lift up. And then step back to high lunge. I know. Good. Deep breath in. And then release the hands down to the floor. You got it. Good. Jump switch. Left foot forward, right leg back. Or step switch if jumping is just not happening. I understand. Nice. Inhale the arms back up to the sky. High lunge. Good. So find the high lunge first, right? Find your balance with that back heel lifted. Find the connection of your feet, navel to spine. And then begin to bow forward. Take your torso forward parallel to the floor. As you do that, your hips have to move back in space. Move them back in space. More power into that back leg. Good. Nice, you guys, because that actually sets your hip in a better position for your standing leg. So once you found that, low belly draws in, low rib cage draws in. Step up to warrior three. Good. Keep the inner thigh, inner knee of that standing leg pushing wide. And the inner thigh of the lifted leg pushes wide. So both of your legs are widening. Your hips are widening. Low ribs in, chest up. Good. And as you push your butt up towards the sky, let your chest come forward even more. So it's not dropping towards the floor, but it is extending forward. Nice. Beautiful. And then step it all the way back, high lunge. I know we didn't do so much of the bending knee and straightening. That's okay. Good. And then release the hands down to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog. Nice, you guys. Walk your feet forward towards your hands. Good. Bend your knees, roll up your spine one vertebra at a time. Let the head drop. Good. All the way up to stand. And then once you arrive, bring your right knee up and towards your chest. Good, squeeze it in. And notice what your standing leg is doing, right? So the top of the thigh has to draw back. Low belly has to draw in. Good. You should still feel like there's a pushing wide of your inner thigh and a rooting down of your big toe mound. Good. Now keep the knee up. Take the arms up to the sky. Good. And then you're coming into warrior three. So you're going to slide that right leg back behind you as you let your chest come forward. Give a little bend to your standing knee. So again, you're not working with a locked leg. And as your chest comes forward, you're kicking that back thigh up, up, up. So it's the strength of that glutes, the strength of that hamstring rising up. Good. Keep a little bend in your standing knee and let yourself tilt forward more. Good. I know this is a tricky thing to do. Beautiful. And then bring yourself all the way back up to stand. I know, don't put the hands down. Bring that right knee all the way back up in towards your chest. Good. Nice job. I think Susan was the only one that managed that without putting her foot down. Good. Step the foot back down to the floor. That's okay though. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Good. Exhale, bow forward. Good. As one of my private clients likes to do, just bend your knees here and wiggle. Shake your hips from side to side. Let your shoulders go from side to side. Good. Again, getting out of this sense of rigidness that we have to go from straight leg to straight leg, right? We're talking about engaged legs, but as soon as we get rigid, everything becomes more difficult to do. As soon as you start deciding that something is difficult, it becomes difficult to do. Good. Let your legs come back to a feeling of lifting your hips towards the sky without locking the knees. Good. And then bring your hands to your hips and come all the way up to stand. Good. Let's try the second side. Left knee comes up in towards your chest. Squeeze it in. Good. And as you squeeze that knee in, you're sending the top of your right thigh up and back, nice and wide. Good. And you're feeling like you are pushing wide through your inner thigh. So your hips are getting as wide as the room. Good. And then keep your knee up, keep your leg up, take your arms up to the sky alongside your ears. So again, long spine, pull up. Good. And then stay this lifted as you start to take that left leg back behind you, navel to spine, chest comes forward. So there's a connection between how high the leg goes and how far forward your chest has to go. Good. This is just part of the dynamics, it's sort of part of the mechanics of the body, right? So your chest has to come forward here in order for that back thigh to lift higher. Good. So again, this is the same truth in standing split. Your hands are just closer to the floor, but you still got to lift through that inner thigh. Good. Little bend in that standing knee, wide in the inner thigh. That's it. And then bring yourself all the way back up to stand, swinging that left knee forward and up, back up and towards your chest. Good job, you guys. Nice, Joanne. Nice, Lorraine. Very graceful falling mark. It's perfect. Good. Release that foot down to the floor. Nice job. Good. Arms to the sky, please. Right hand holds your left wrist and pull to your right. Side body stretch. Good. And then come back up to center, switch the hands and pull to the left. Good. And then back up to center, please. Beautiful. Release the hands. Hug your right knee up and towards your chest again. Beautiful. Yep. Work the top of that left thigh up and back. It's like you're pushing your butt up and back to an imaginary wall. Good. And then take the arms straight up to the sky. Same thing that you just did, arms up. Good. Get super tall from your armpits to your hips. Good. And then start to bring that right leg back behind you again towards that warrior three position. Bring your chest forward. Good. And again, you have to have this balance here of pressing back through the hips as well as extending through the armpits. This is what keeps the weight of your pelvis balanced, centered over your heel. If you're too far forward or back, you've got to work really hard just to stay on that leg. Good. Continue to reach forward and down. Start to reach beyond the toes of your front foot. And as you do, like one of those little tippy bird things, lift your back thigh higher. So as your chest comes low, your heart, your hip, your heel is the word, comes higher and higher and higher. And then hands touch down to the floor or blocks. You're in standing split, but it should still feel like you're in warrior three. So keep your chest up. Good. And kick that right thigh higher. And now bend your standing knee. Yep, standing knee. and scoop your belly and kick your right thigh higher. Nice. And now re-straighten the standing leg, dropping the chest, but keeping that length from your armpits to your hips. Good. And then release that right foot down to the floor, please. Nice job. Separate your feet nice and wide. Turn your toes out. Drop down to squat. Good. I know. It's great when squat becomes an actual resting pose and you're happy for it. You're grateful for it. Told you, standing split, many of these poses that we do habitually are much more difficult than we give them credit for because we just do them transiently, right? We do them to get them out of the way. We think they're a way to get to something else. Standing split by itself is huge work for your back, huge work for your glutes, for your hamstrings. Good. Release the hands to the floor, please. Turn your toes forward, straighten the legs and bow. Uttanasana, forward fold. Good. And then either bend the knees and roll up the spine, or if you like keeping the legs a little bit more engaged, take your hands to your hips and again, work that energy of the long spine, the muscles of the back, and reach yourself all the way up the long spine. Good. And then again, once you arrive, standing straight up and down, Tadasana, bring your left knee up in towards your chest. Good. Top of your right thigh, standing thigh goes up and back. Again, it's like you're pushing your butt back into an imaginary wall. Good. And you're pushing your inner thighs wide. So you're pushing in all these directions so that there's nothing is locked in any one way. Take the arms all the way up alongside your ears. Good. You got to use those low belly muscles and hip flexors to keep that thigh up. There you go. And then start to lean forward towards warrior three. And again, don't rush into trying to get your hands to the floor. You're coming just to warrior three. So as your leg comes back behind you, your chest comes forward. And again, you're practicing pressing back through that extended heel, pulling back through your hips as your armpits pull forward. And you're still pushing wide with that standing knee. And you're pushing wide with the lifted inner thigh. Good. And then bend your standing knee just a little bit. Kick that back thigh higher. And as the back thigh goes higher, start to reach forward beyond the toes of your feet with your hands and let them touch down to the floor or blocks, reaching really far forward. Good. And then scoop your belly. Nice. Straighten that standing thigh again. Beautiful. This feeling that the top of that standing thigh is always pulling back in space and it's always pulling up into the pelvis. Left thigh kicks a little higher. Good. Bend your standing knee again a lot. You can always walk your hands in if that feels like it's a nice thing to do. But if you shorten your side body, right, you walk your hands in and just get really curved and rounded in your back, as you're going to lose all of your power. So stay long, armpit to hip, straighten that standing leg again. Kick that left thigh higher. Good. Keep reaching. You never stop reaching with that left inner thigh. Good. Nice, you guys. And then release that foot down to the floor, please. Good. Separate the feet nice and wide. Turn the toes out. Drop down, squat. Beautiful. And so we can tell if those outer hip and thigh muscles are really, really tight, because when we do one-legged standing poses, typically what happens is they'll start to cramp when we're doing the pose correctly, right? When we're in good alignment. Yeah. As we start to cramp, because those muscles are like, please, I can't do it in neutral alignment. I need to rotate. I need to turn out. Don't make me do this, right? So that's how we know that there needs to be a little bit more stretching of those muscles and retraining, that they're able to stay in a neutral position and hold us up, right? Because this means that when we're standing normally on 2 feet, is they're doing the same thing. They're pulling, right? They're pulling in the direction that their tightness wants them to go. Bring the hands down to the floor, please. Turn your toes forward, straighten the legs, and bow. Good. Again, standing poses really teach us how to stand properly. And one-legged standing poses especially. Nice, you guys. Step your right leg back behind you, please. Coming to a lunge. Good. Fingertips to the floor or onto blocks. Just lift your chest up. So you're not bringing the hands up into a high lunge. You're just lifting your chest higher. Hands are on the floor or blocks, framing the front foot. Good. Scoop your low belly. Send your your left knee forward a little bit more. So it's a deeper lunge, but your chest is lifted. Good. Dropping the hips, but chest up. Awesome. And then walk your fingers forward beyond the toes of your front foot. And again, move your weight onto that left leg. Pause, like you're just on the tips of the toes of your right foot. Good. So come up onto the tippy toes of your back foot, all of your weight on the front foot. That's it. Yep, scoop your belly. So already you're prepared here to lift from that inner thigh, push your hips to the sky and come into standing split and use those same muscles that you did to lift that leg when you were on your forearms in the beginning of class. Good. And then step back to that lunge position. So bend your standing knee, step back to the lunge. Nice. Lift your chest a little higher. Again, scooping your belly, send your weight so that your front knee is over your front ankle, come onto the tippy toes of your back foot. So there's almost no weight there. Scoop your belly. Good. And then go ahead as you straighten that standing leg, kick that right thigh up to the sky, standing split. Good. And then step all the way back to lunge. Joanne, careful, there's a dog behind you. One more time. There's a dog above me. Scoop your belly, send your knee forward over your ankle. Good. Again, all the weight on that front foot, come onto the tippy toes of the back foot, and then lift that thigh up as you push your hips up to the ceiling to straighten your standing leg, standing split. There should be almost no weight on your hands. Again, your hands are there for support, but make the weight be really about your hip being stacked on top of your standing heel. Awesome. And then step all the way back to lunge, please. Come back, downward facing dog. Good. Take a deep breath in. A deeper breath out. The dog barking here, his name is Shamrock. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Good. I'm sorry. Right foot forward because that's the same side again. So do the second side. Why not? Right foot steps forward. Sorry about that. Okay. So higher up into that lunge, right? So up on your fingertips, lift your chest a little higher. This is important, right? Because we need that power of the back to make this an easeful transition. So scoop your belly, send your right knee forward right over that ankle, and then come onto the tippy toes of that back foot. So again, almost no weight there already. So as you start to lift forward, you're sending your chest forward, but you're straightening that right leg by pulling your hips to the sky. Come up into standing split, reaching through that left inner thigh. Good. Again, using the actual strength of that back leg, not to propel you forward, but to lift itself against gravity up to the sky. Good. And then step yourself back to that lunge position again, nice and light. Good. Chest lifts a little higher. So again, belly lifting off of that front thigh as much as you can. Scoop the belly, send your right knee forward over the ankle. So again, already you're preparing, bringing the weight of the hip forward, come onto the tippy toes of the back foot. And then again, just let yourself tip forward into standing split. So it's all the work of those big leg and glute muscles to straighten the standing leg and lift the extended leg off of the floor. Press your hips to the sky, light on your hands. And then step back to that lunge position again. Good. Again, the more rigid you get, the harder it is to come in and out of the pose. Chest up. Good. Scoop your belly. Send that right knee forward over the ankle. So again, you're really working the strength of the legs here. And then again, tipping yourself forward. No weight on that back foot already. Lift up so that you're bringing your right hip on top of that right heel, lifting through the left inner thigh. Good. Chest is still nice and wide. So even if your hands are walking back towards your heel, keep it with that feeling of warrior three, that you're still extending your armpits away from your hips and lifting your hips away from your armpits. Good. That's what makes standing split. Again, this easeful balance is when we have that extension, we never lose the power. If we get crunchy, we lose everything, right? Good. And then go ahead and step back to that nice long lunge position. Step back to downward facing dog. Good. Deep breath in. And then drop down to the knees, please. Child's pose. You'll never look at standing split the same way again, right? So if you only do the pose once in a class or a couple of times in a class, is you might not go this specific with what is my standing leg doing and what is my lifted leg doing, and am I really coming into a split position, or am I just standing on one leg and throwing the other one up in the air? So when we have this kind of dynamic relationship with the pose, I come into it, I come out of it, I come into it, I come out of it. You're able to maybe understand what it's like to be in the pose before you're in the pose. What needs to be there, what needs to be set up for the pose to be easy, for the balance to be easy. Good. Walk yourself back in, please. Come to sit on your butt. Take your legs out in front of you. Good. Keep the right leg extended. Bend your left knee. Yep. Step the left foot over your right thigh. Then you can either stay here or bend the right knee as well, bringing that heel towards your left butt cheek. So just bending both knees into the twist, coming into a twist. You got it. Your right foot's still going to be flat on the floor on the outside of that left thigh. Good. And then you're either wrapping your right arm around the knee and taking the left hand back behind you to twist, or you can hook the right elbow on the outside of the knee. So it's your choice. You can use the arm to hug in, or you can hook the elbow in that sort of very traditional yogi twist position. Good. Throat back. Crown of your head lifts straight up. Even here, don't lose the length of your spine. The moment you lose the length of your spine is that you've given up the ability of the pose to really open things for you. Good. So even if it feels like it means you have to do something different with your legs, don't lose the length of your spine. Awesome. Slowly release. Come all the way back to center, please. Unwind the legs. Take your left leg straight out in front of you. Good. Bend the right knee in towards your chest. Step that foot over the left thigh. And again, you might just stay here with that left leg extended, or bend the left knee and bring that heel towards your right butt cheek. Good. You got it. Yep. Half Lord of the Fishes. Good. And then you're bringing your left elbow either to the outside of the knee to hook, or you're hugging the knee in towards your chest with the inside edge of the arm, looking over the right shoulder, or turning your ribs to the right. You can look whatever direction your neck wants you to look. So again, looking over the right shoulder, a little bit more intense twist. Looking to the left, a little bit less intense. Getting licked by a dog, most intense. Good. Nice. You guys drop that right butt cheek down towards the floor. That's it, Lorraine, I know. And then slowly release, come all the way back out. Stretch the legs straight in front of you. Inhale the arms up to the sky, flex your feet, bow forward, Paschimottanasana. Funny how we didn't do 1,000 hamstring openers before standing split, right? It's a pose that is not so much about flexibility, it's about muscle engagement. It's about back ability. So the muscles have to be strong in the right way. Flexibility will either be there or it won't. But all the hamstring stretches in the world are not going to make standing split easier. Not really. Walk yourself all the way back up. Nice job. Scoot yourself forward, come down onto your backs. Good. Bending the knees, please. Take your right ankle over your left thigh. Lift your left shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold that leg. Good. I feel like it's almost every class I could say, you know, pigeon also would have been a good choice. And pigeon could have been a good choice. Prelude for standing split. Anything that opens the outer hips and thighs will do the same thing. And pigeon can sometimes be a little bit intense. It's not necessary, especially because the rotation in standing split is a neutral one. Legs are facing straight ahead, not out, not in. Good. One more deep breath here. As you exhale, maybe pull those legs in a little deeper towards your belly. Good. And then keep the ankle crossed, stretch your left leg straight up towards the sky. Yep. Good. And then maybe move your hands instead of holding the thigh, reach for your calf. So come above that crossed ankle. Good. Deep breath in again. As you exhale, lift your shoulders up off the floor. Walk your hands towards your ankle any amount. Yep. Scooping your belly, keep your low back anchored to the floor. And then as you relax your shoulders back down to the floor, bring your leg with you any amount. You can always kick that leg back into your hands. Good. So you add a little resistance, a little different hamstring stretch. Good. And then slowly release, please. Bending that left knee. Good. Unwind both knees in towards your chest. Good. And then take the left ankle over your right thigh, please. Reaching through to hold the thigh. Nice. You find yourself, again, bringing it back to this Hanuman idea of split poses, as you find yourself relating to where your power comes from in a very different way when you're actually in a position where you are forced to use it. So we take it for granted when we're just standing or walking around, how much strength is required in our legs and our back to do everyday things. But then you change your relationship to gravity and suddenly you're like, oh, my back has to be strong. My legs have to be strong. And they are strong. They just have to remember that they know how to do the thing that you're asking them to do. They're capable. Maybe they've been trained to do something else, so it's hard for them to figure out that split position. Deep breath in. As you exhale, bring the knees in a little bit closer. Good. And then change the position of the hand. So instead of holding the thigh, you reach for maybe your calf as you straighten that right leg. Sorry, that needs to happen first. And then change the position of the hands, reaching for the calf or the ankle. Keep your low back anchored to the floor. Deep breath in. As you exhale, walk your hands up towards the ankle any amount. Lift your shoulders up off the floor. Again, you're still trying to keep your low back pressing down, so don't lose that. Good. And then as you relax your shoulders back to the floor, bring the leg with you any amount. So again, you're folding the legs in towards the belly a little deeper. You can add resistance by pressing the calf or the thigh or the shin, whatever you're holding, back against your hands. Good. Flexing the feet. Nice. And then slowly release, bending that right knee, unwinding your legs, squeeze the knees in towards your chest. Beautiful. Keep the right knee in, extend your left leg straight down to the floor. Good. Come into spinal twist, bringing the right knee across your body. Right arm goes out wide, spinal twist. Good. An arm can come up over the ear if reaching out straight from your shoulder doesn't feel like it works very well for the joint. Good. And find yourself coming back to center, please. Squeezing that knee back in towards the chest. Again, almost simulating that feeling of splitting the legs, pressing out through the left heel. Good. And then switch the legs, please. Right leg comes down to the floor. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. Good. And then bring that knee across your body, spinal twist. Left arm goes wide or up alongside the ear. Good. Breathing long between the armpit and the hip. And even here, don't lose the length of your spine. Good. It's amazing all the things that you can do, even though you may be saying to yourself the whole time you're doing them how hard they are. You still do them. So this talent that we have for taking our strength and our capabilities for granted. Start to notice how much you are really capable of. Come back to center, please, hugging that left knee in towards the chest. Again, one more breath, reaching out through that right thigh, again, simulating almost like you're doing a split here, just with the thighs. Good. And then release, extending both legs out in front of you. Good. Flex the feet, dig the heels down, take your arms up alongside your ears. Reach, 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 reach. Full body stretch. Nice. And then slowly release, taking the arms alongside you, palms facing up. Let the feet drop open, rock your head from side to side for a moment. And then let it come to what feels like center, what feels like stillness. It feels like gratitude for all the things that you are capable of doing that you habitually ignore. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. And the body begin to stretch and move in all the ways that serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Taking a moment there before you begin to push the floor away, come back to an upright seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. The standing split, it's both a standing pose and a split pose. And if you focus on it being a split pose, you might forget that the ability to do that split doesn't come in this variation from the extension of your hamstrings. It comes from your ability to stand. So it's the strength of your back and the strength of your glutes, the strength of your legs. It's not about the flexibility alone. And if we get very rigid in thinking about what strength means, then we lose the ability to actually stay open. So the pose teaches us how to stand and teaches us how to be strong without being rigid, teaches us how to be open and flexible without worrying about how open and flexible that is. And it teaches us about our relationship to gravity, our relationship to ourselves, our struggles. So I suggest practice standing split because it will teach you how to stand in your life, not just on your mat. So a little celebration, continuing celebration of Hanuman and all of the strength, all of the gifts, all of the abilities that we have that we habitually ignore, that we forget. Split poses every time. We'll close with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week until I see you again.